It was Doris Epstein who said, "You need to come. You need to meet Dr. Aliyev." Her voice carried more than a suggestion. It held knowing, like a hand reaching out through the fog. As much as I didn't feel like going, thought maybe I should. I was curious, and I just decided, what did I have to lose? That Sunday, I drove from Ajax to Toronto. I hadn't left town in a couple of months. My aching body, my spirit frayed. I didn't know what awaited me. Only that something in me whispered, "Yes, you need to go." A room filled with strangers, yet I felt no need to hide. The teachings flowed like balm, and to my surprise, I fit right in. Not as a broken thing to be fixed, but as a soul that needed to be remembering what I'd been going through, and I was ready to remember. Healing wasn't loud, it was a soft exhale, a gentle motion, a soothing presence, a quiet return to self. That day, in a quiet Toronto living room, 20 men and women met Dr. Hasai Aliyev and his program, The Key. Hasai spoke Russian and had a translator with him, Kevin Smith. Something had shifted in me, not loudly, not dramatically, but with the rush of grace. The pain hadn't vanished, nor the fear, but a door had opened. I stepped through it, not knowing where it would lead, only that I felt like it was healing. The key was more than just a method. It was like a mirror, a compass. It met me where I was, anxious, aching, afraid, and gently it began to teach me how to breathe again, how to listen inward, how to trust that healing was not only possible, but it was already beginning. Trusting your intuition, very important. You need to remember that. That Sunday marked the start of a spiritual journey, one that would carry me through the shadow and light, through the silence and the song, and I was no longer alone. I got my power back and I got my voice back. Fibromyalgia didn't vanish. No, I still had it. It remained. It was a quiet ache, a constant companion, one without a cure. But something had shifted. The key didn't promise a cure, and I didn't expect one, but it offered a subtler, more profound tools to soothe the storm, to soften the edges of pain. I began to cope better, not perfectly, not always easily, but with more clarity and more breadth. I learned to listen to my body's whispers, to listen with gentleness rather than fear. The pain was still there, but I was no longer drowning in it. And perhaps more importantly, the key opened a door to future learning. It planted seeds of insight that would grow into practices. It would grow with philosophies and healing paths I hadn't yet imagined. It was all the beginning of a lifelong conversation with my own spirit. I practiced every day what I had been taught, and the week before had been a wonderful experience. 1 week later, I returned. The pain hadn't disappeared, but something in me had changed. Dr. Aliev saw it. His eyes met mine with quiet recognition, and through Kevin's translation, I shared what the key had done for me. Not a cure, but a compass, a way to breathe through the ache. He listened and then gently asked, "Would you like to learn how to teach this?" I said yes, not with certainty, but with an inner knowing that this was perhaps a start, not just of healing, but of purpose. And don't we all feel like we need purpose? The key had opened a door, and I stepped through it, not as a patient, but as a guide in the making. My journey had become a path for myself and for others. Saying yes to Dr. Aliev's invitation was more than a response. It was a soul agreement. The key had opened something in me, and now I was being asked to help open it in others. That moment planted the roots of a vocation I hadn't yet named or studied. As I learned to teach the key, I also learned to listen to the body's wisdom, to the soul's cry, and to the stories held in silence. A few years later, I started my studies for the ministry. I finally answered the call. My fears of broken bodies, blood, people suffering, people crying, families watching their loved ones be born and to die. The key had opened the door for me to become who I needed to become. I was healed within me, inside my soul, so that I could be effective as a chaplain, a healer, a spiritual companion, one who would marry those in love and celebrate those who had gone to their glory. These tools became the foundation of my work in hospitals, in sacred circles, and in the lives of those navigating grief, trauma, and transformation. The key didn't just help me cope with pain, it taught me how to walk beside others in theirs. It shaped my presence, my posture, my prayers. It taught me that healing is not always about fixing, but it's about witnessing, holding, and gently inviting light to come back in. The call to ministry was unmistakable. It didn't arrive with fanfare, but with a deep, resonant knowing, like a bell sounding within my soul. The key had opened me, and now I was opening others. I began teaching the method to friends, and then to their friends. Word spread not through advertising, but through transformation. I watched as people softened. Their pain didn't vanish, but was diminished. But their posture towards it changed. They became more creative, more hopeful, and more alive. One colleague looked at me one day with wonder and said, "I want what you have." What I had wasn't a secret, it was a path, a way of being, a willingness to listen inward and respond with grace. It was an exciting time, not because everything was easy, but because everything felt aligned. I was no longer just healing, I was serving, and that made all the difference. If you like this video, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button now. The key didn't just stay confined to workshops or teachings. It flowed into everything I touched. It shaped my chaplaincy, deepening my ability to hold space for others in pain. I learned to listen not just with ears, but with presence, to offer comfort not through words, but through stillness, breath, and sacred attention. I found its way it found its way into my music, into the pauses between the notes, the gentle phrasing and the healing intention behind each composition and each lyric. My piano became a vessel, my melodies a fragrant ointment that calmed my soul. It even shaped my art, the way I chose imagery, the way I layered meaning, the way I honored transformation through dragonflies and light. The key taught me that healing is not linear, but symbolic, intuitive, and deeply personal. And so, my creative work became a reflection of that truth. This isn't just a method, it's a way of being, a way of serving, a way of creating, and it continues to ripple through everything I offer. I am Katerina Bowers for Reflections 101, Cosmic Cradle and the legacy I am building with every word, every note, every image, and I will see you next week. Have a good week. If what I have spoken about today interests you, why not drop me a note? You can email me